So this happened maybe 2 years ago. But one time, my older sister and I were sharing a room while living with some family members. One night, I was trying to sleep while my sister was on her phone. As I was trying to sleep, I kept hearing seagulls, and I kept thinking, oh my God, why won't she change the TikTok? Finally, I was upset to the point that I sat up, told her to turn it down. She looks at me with wide eyes and says, I thought that was you. My eyes go wide, and I thought, what the fuck? Well, sis texted one of our guardians because their room was across from ours. Then, my sister and I walked into the hallway to talk to said guardian. I was ahead of sis and realized, wait, that's coming from the end of the hall, in the bathroom. I told sis, then started to walk that way. When I got close to the bathroom, I felt this surge of panic, so I quickly turned around, bumped into my sis, and we both ran back to our room. Well, one of our guardians came and checked on what we were doing because we were loud. Then we told them what happened, and one of our brothers came down to see what the seagull noise was. Turns out it was a toy my littlest brother had, but the only way to turn it on was to push a button. We were too scared to go in there, to turn it off. Well, thankfully, one of the grown-ups did. But then later in the night, it went off again. Then the next day, when my sis and brother were home alone, it went off again. Finally, my brother put it outside in the snow. This was only one of many paranormal experiences I've had. So I used to live in a small town in rural Canada. There was this old folks' home for the mentally unwell that was closed a long time before I moved there. During the day, people would go to the property and hang out in the well-kept grass and trees. The town still took care of the surrounding grounds for this specific reason. The actual building was locked up, but teenagers would break into the building to basically scare themselves, myself included on a few occasions. Usually with 5 or so people, a little bit drunk or a little high, but even stone cold sober, it was lots of fun, probably due to feeling somewhat safe in numbers. And literally nothing actually happened that couldn't be easily explained with logic, noises, papers shifting, etc. Inevitably, the large group of teens that we would make too much noise, and the cops would get called. One night, me and my best friend, whom is a serious skeptic, decided to break or get into one of the parts of the building that no one had gotten into before. This time, just the two of us, because the more people you bring, the more likely the police are to show up, mainly due to a disturbance being called in by someone living across the property. We've had to book it from cops before, and we didn't want to tonight, especially if we were going to find a place that no one had ever been before, where we didn't know the exits. To get an idea of what it looked like, 5 stories tall, with the 4th and 5th stories making a slight tower jutting from the middle. Old brick in the front. Modern cement blocks that were painted over, like in schools. At the back, that's where you could tell that stuff was added in later years. The newer parts of the building had been broken into by kids a lot, but the main building had thick metal doors, and the windows that might be able to be opened were on the 3rd story. The whole thing looked like an old school, church, asylum, all cobbled together. There were other little structures around the main building, pool house, gymnasium, all ransacked by us idiots. Not the main floor of the old building, though. We climbed on the roof of the boiler room at the back of the building. We did this by piling up furniture debris we found in one of the ransacked storage buildings behind the main building. We pulled off one of the plywood covers nailed over a hole in the roof for a skylight or a missing vent, not sure. That led into the boiler room. We used the pipes along the ceiling and walls to climb down. This part of the building still looked semi-modern. You could tell that it was added closer to when it had closed. There was an exit that only opened from the inside, so at least leaving would be easy if needed. Me and my buddy are pumped at this point. The pipes made it easy to get down and everything was going good as it could. We make our way to the back of the room. We find the door leading to the untouched main floor of the building. We're half expecting the door to be locked like all of the other thick metal ones. But it opened with a real achy creak, loud against the silence. The door opened to the middle of a hallway, leading left or right. First thing we noticed, dust everywhere. It had made a 1/4 inch of film on everything. We both went right, as it led into an interesting-looking main area with sheet-covered furniture. We used our phone screens as light, took a couple of steps into the main room, and it hit me like a train. I'll try my best to phrase this understandably. All of a sudden, I feel sick. Not throw-up sick, but I'm gonna die sick. Like my brain said, run, leave, escape, now. I started shaking for no reason. It was so jarring. If I had to compare it to something, it felt like someone was right behind me with the intent to end me. It was weird because of how sudden it was, like a switch went off. I was excited and positive right up until that point, and then I was convinced we were about to get jumped or murdered. I looked at my buddy, and his face had the same expression of what I felt. Genuinely terrified, white as a ghost. I think that might have scared me even more, honestly, because I've never seen him like that. Neither of us saw anything at this point. No ghost, no distinct noises after the door creak, no creepy dolls or skeletons, just thick dust, sheet-covered furniture. It made no sense that I felt so threatened, and looking at my friend, I knew he felt it too. Without saying a word to each other, we turn our heads and walk toward the boiler room. We didn't tell each other that either one of us wanted to go. We just started backtracking faster than we came in. I'm leading us at this point, and my blood ran ice cold when I noticed something on the other side of the door we left open. A set of fresh-looking footprints that led down the left route of the hall. We both went right to get to the large main room. The prints were positively not ours. As we got closer, it got worse. The footprints started 8 to 10 feet from the door, in the middle of the hall. It looked like a person had teleported 10 feet from the door, mid-stride, and walked the opposite way and around the corner. We booked out of there as fast as possible. Thank fuck there was an exit in the boiler room, because I can't imagine climbing up those pipes in a panic. Literally never went back to that building. On the way back to his house, I asked my buddy what he saw, and he said he saw the prints, noticed how far away from the door they were. So, I know that I wasn't just seeing things. I'm an atheist. I don't have a good explanation for this, and I'd really love one. To clarify, we didn't see them appear. We saw them after they had been made, and they looked as new as ours. Bonus fact, the tower, it had a window at the top. Some people claim that they could see someone standing in there at night sometimes. There were a couple of times when I swear something looked like it could be in the window before this whole incident happened. But I guess it could easily just be my mind playing tricks.